Hello and welcome to another episode of Based News Network. I am punkrevolutionnow, aka Caio, here with joan.of.arca, aka Sophie, and we have a very special guest on for this episode. Say hello, janeremover.
Hello.
Hi.
Yay! Hi. So for those who are listening, janeremover is a very epic musician. If you haven't listened to Census Designated yet, you should definitely go check it out because it's awesome. Shoegaze, emo, post-rock, alternative rock, whatever you want to call it. It's an epic album. And janeremover also has really some other stuff that is quite epic. Frailty came out in 2021. Teen Week, other releases that are pretty epic. So yes, thank you, janeremover, for coming on to Based News Network.
Yes, thank you.
Totally. Thank you for having me.
Did I miss anything? Any other? I guess actually that's actually a question I had written down, and maybe it's a hard question because, obviously I've listened to your discography, but how would you describe your music as an artist, janeremover?
That's a good question, but I don't know. I think I just make whatever I want. I think I try to make one album one genre. So the first album, Frailty, was a pop album, and then Census Designated is a rock album, and I don't know what I'm gonna do next yet, but yeah, I think I just want to I don't know. I'd say my music is just all over the place.
Yeah, no, it definitely is all over the place, and I mean that in a nice way. And I think it's kind of funny how you describe Frailty as a pop album and Census Designated as a rock album, and that's absolutely true. But I feel like for the listeners who haven't listened to them yet, they're really yes, it's a pop album, yes, it's a rock album, but they have a lot of it's a very, very unique pop album and a very, very unique rock album with a lot of different cool influences coming in through it. When I reviewed your album, janeremover, it was kind of hard to summarize you, but I'm kind of curious, would you say that your desire to take the music you make in these different directions, is that something that's coming from basically a place of you are just so creatively inspired and just love music so much that you just want to be able to make music that touches on all these different sort of genres? Or
Yeah,
what's
totally.
kind of your motivation?
I think I agree. I think it's kind of hard to label such a broad umbrella term like pop or rock. I think if I had to if I had to describe them with one umbrella word, it would be pop and rock. But obviously Frailty has elements of video game music and EDM, and there's bit crushed guitars everywhere, and Census Designated has a ton of noise and harsh noise and glitches, and I think you could the vocals on Frailty are more robotic and more not a Vocaloid kind of robotic, but it's it's more it's very digital, whereas the vocals on the new album are more emotive and expressive.
It's very interesting because they are very different, but I still feel like they are kind of cohesive. I think just because of the emo, they both have emo kind of elements kind of gluing them together in a way, but they obviously have hugely different stylistic choices. Frailty and Census Designated. So now that you've released Census Designated, because I know you've I'm guessing you've been working on Census Designated for a while. I guess how long have you been working on Census Designated, would you say?
I started it around February of last year, and I finished it in July of this year. So it's been around a year and a half.
Nice. So how are you feeling now that after you've put so much time and effort and love into putting Census Designated together, now that it's out into the world? How are you feeling about that? Is it like anxiety inducing, fun? Kind of what's your take on it?
It's really relieving because I don't have to worry about like, I don't have to be in the production process anymore. Like, I think now that I can say it's like done and it's out and like, that whole like process is over, I can like relax for a little bit. And I I've like what's it called? I've been like seeing all the like overwhelmingly positive reception of this album, and it it's definitely a lot because I think it's like something that I have to continue, like, just reception as a whole is something I have to get used to. But like the overwhelming like positive support is something that's like never happened to me on this scale, and it's like something that is really, I didn't think it would like reach this many people, so it's very rewarding to me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely great. I mean, I'm the same way too with whenever I release anything, like any sort of comments, feedback, even positive, positive reviews. I get so anxious. I just can't stand it. Like the releasing something to the world and having people comment on it and stuff like that. Like that drives me nuts. Because even if just for me, if someone says something nice about it, like I'm like my brain is just anxious and like reading it in like the most critical way possible. Even though it might generally be um a good review or something, but. I think, I wasn't expecting you to say relieved, but I think it makes sense now that you say it. Like, especially if it's just been like, were you anxious like before the release date about like what people were going to say?
Oh yeah, I was like having the release date jitters kind of. This happens every time I drop something. It's like I'll have like a really bad week before dropping the album, and then like once it comes out, it's like exhaling really long. And like I don't really read like comment boxes that much. I kind of only, all the reception I see is like, if someone DMs me, or if like I read articles and stuff, or like, or if I watch videos like of people reviewing it. But I don't really read comment sections much because I know they can kind of get a little like turf worry, and I'd rather like not have people argue.
Yeah, I feel like the comment boxes, especially like on Rate Your Music, where people who like are really weird about music, where they like, I don't know, like think of music as almost like an identity thing where people like fight about music and like get nasty and snarky, like, and obviously people who are like leaving short comments aren't like putting their like all their heart and soul into like thinking critically about music. It's usually like a snappy comment. So definitely agree with you on that to avoid that.
Yeah,
I'm sure the comment boxes on Rate Your Music for you too are also full of love and positive feedback too. But
yeah. I know that I have like a like, what's it called? I know that I have like quite a few fans on Rate Your Music. I really don't go on that website that much, and I haven't read like the comment box, and I'm kind of scared too. So but it's overwhelming. It not overwhelming. It's overall like it's overall just like best that I don't touch like music rating websites.
yes.
I I think I was told that the album has a lot of comments, but I haven't like sat and looked at them, and I don't really plan on it. But you're
Yeah.
you're right about like how a lot of them are just like one sentence like little thoughts rather than comments.
Oh my God, yeah. And you could drive yourself crazy too. Like if you can read a comment where someone's like, "Oh, I really didn't like how this thing sounded," and then you'll read someone say, "Oh, I actually really like, loved how this thing sounded," and like you could just like drive yourself crazy. Like it's just not constructive criticism. It's just criticism that you're just gonna spin in circles, and you're not gonna be able to use that criticism. Um, effectively and to like make your next release or something like that, because it's literally just like kids on the
I don't
internet
know.
like
Like,
being
can you
snarky.
find,
You know.
can you even find constructive criticism on the internet? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like
I
that's
think there's like
hard to
a
find.
diamond in the rough type
Yeah,
thing.
that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's probably just what I usually stick to is just like friends, like or friends who are musicians who know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Jane, now that you've released this record, are you planning on doing like a decent amount of like live shows?
Oh, for sure. I think like the tour I think has like maybe 12-ish shows. I'm not too sure. I have to double check, but like I really want to do shows that are like more than just the tour. When I went on tour last year, it kind of just made me realize that I love being on the road and I like performing and I don't like sitting around at home that much. So being on tour is an excuse for me to like get out of the house and like, you know, I also just I also just love the idea of it.
What is it like to be on tour? Like, I know that's a very broad question, but um, you're 20 years old, right?
Yeah, I turned 20 about a month ago.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. And like, what is it like to like be so young and to like have already toured and like going on another tour? And what is that like? Like as like a young, like someone in their early 20s, like, do you feel like that's going to affect you a lot as far as like the experiences you've had and what you're going to have?
Touring is definitely a little taxing. I remember like when I went on tour last year, I went like I like overexerted myself at one of the shows and I got a little sick afterwards. And like for the rest of the tour I was like recovering from that sickness and it was definitely like physically taxing, like just being on stage for like multiple nights in a row. But I really enjoyed it. I remember coming back home like super exhausted, but I felt really good. Um, but I think I'm not really sure how like being on tour at a young age is like going to affect me yet because I think that's like
Hmm.
something that the future has. Like I think that's like something I can only find out as I like keep playing shows.
That's very fair. I guess I'm just jealous. And maybe I don't know about the touring thing, but like the idea of traveling, I can definitely see how like taxing that would be though.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice driving across the country and like seeing all these random little towns that we had to stop in between. Like that was my
Yeah.
favorite part. But I'd like a lot of the like cities that I played in were like my first time ever being in the city, like Atlanta, or like
Mm.
most cities that are like west of Pittsburgh. But yeah, I totally I like just being in the city for the day and then like being in another city the next day and like I don't know, it's probably unethical to travel all the time because of like car emissions or whatever. But like I don't know, I really enjoy it. I never really like want it to end.
So for this upcoming tour, like, what is the like the crew gonna be like? Is it gonna be like, I guess both in terms of like on stage when you're playing, given that this is now a bit of more of like a rock release with like more guitar focus. I don't know if you're gonna have like a guitarist on stage with you, and likewise just like who else is coming along on the tour?
I found it really hard to play the guitar and sing at the same time, but I can try to bring it with me. I think if not, then we're just gonna have someone else play the guitar. We're gonna have a drummer. I might bring the bass with me. Like I might play the bass. I might not. Just because I'm still learning the bass. and I I I had this idea in my head about like bringing a granular synth or like something that I can make a lot of glitchy noises out of, just to kind of emulate what's on the album a little bit without having like a backing track of some sort.
Hmm, that's dope. Um, so it sounds like it's kind of be a little bit still of like kind of just like figuring it out as you kind of go along, which is understandable given that I think these songs sound kind of hard to play live. Like obviously you're gonna need like some like it's definitely like a mix of like I mean I think it's really dope that you're gonna have like live drums. I feel like that's gonna be like a huge part of like bringing the songs to life. But like listening to this like the census designated and I guess frailty as well. Just thinking like these songs sound like really hard to play live.
For sure. Like I think because a lot of Frailty was, or all of Frailty, I think, was recorded on an acoustic guitar, and then when I played it live, I had an electric guitar. So it was a little bit different trying to translate them to to the live version. But I think I know some of the songs are pretty easy to play. I know a lot of the songs on Frailty, like all the drums on there are like super just unplayable because it's like you need like three drum kits to play it. But I think the songs on Census are like totally able to play live.
I feel like the songs are actually, even though they sound hard to play live, I will say like I feel like there's songs, given that they're like post rock, shoegaze, like I feel like there's songs that will sound like really good live because they're like so massive. And like hopefully when you're like playing live, you can like get that massive sound because I think that's like a huge like part of the appeal. I'm definitely gonna be. Do you know if you're gonna be coming into like Brooklyn or New York?
Oh yeah, we're doing a New York show for sure.
Ooh.
All right. Well, I'll be there for sure. Very
Hell
excited
yeah.
about that. Do you have any like specific spots that like you're especially excited to like play? Maybe some cities or anything you haven't been to yet?
Let me pull up the dates real quick.
So yeah, it's okay if you don't know off the top of your head. 12, it's like 12 shows. So
I've never played in Portland or
Ooh.
let me see. Yeah, no, I haven't played in Portland or San Francisco. There's also a Santa Ana tour date, and I've never even been to Santa Ana. I've been to the other two cities. I didn't perform because I was like not equipped to.
well, that sounds pretty dope. I also have not been to a lot of those places. So yes, like Sophie, I am in fact feeling a little bit jealous, even though I know touring is exhausting. But I will definitely grab some tickets for the Brooklyn show. So that will be very dope. So with census designated, how do you like feel about because I listen to census designated. I think it to be honest, it's my favorite release of yours. It just like really aligns with like my favorite um like genres, and I think it's just really awesome. But when you listen to like I know you've also like earlier in your discography have released a lot more stuff focused on like electric dance music and music that's a little bit more like focused on like just straight up electronic fun. You know what I mean? Like less emo, more fun. How do you feel about when you like look back at those like earlier releases, those releases that I mean, I know you also are continuing to release stuff like that on like you have various like side projects and stuff, but like when you like listen to like your earlier stuff, do you feel like maybe do you still have like a emotional connection to them? Do you feel like you'd rather kind of distance yourself from them just because those are like kind of like as like a different era of your life? Like how do you reflect on like earlier Jane Remover output?
Um, I think I look back on it like I have a little soft spot for it just because I was a lot younger and I was just starting out and like even then I was still trying to learn how to like how my music was received and stuff. but I also try to distance myself from it because it's like it's a very unserious like period. A lot of the music, like I guess like with my EP Teen Week, I guess it's like, that's, I try to step away from that as much as I can because it's like, it's really whiny and unserious, but like I know a lot of people resonate with it, and that's why I have a soft spot with it because I've had people come up to me and say like, oh, this like, this really helped me when I was feeling depressed, and I forget that like I have an audience sometimes, and I have to remember like how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it is my music, and I have like grown up since then. Like I'm grown now, but I don't really hold it against people who like listen to the music I made when I was 16 and have like an emotional connection with it.
What you're saying here kind of reminds me of I don't know if you saw like how Doja Cat was talking about her older music. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, that was like everywhere.
Yeah, like she was basically saying like, if you like my old music, you're stupid because it was like a cash grab or it's like bad or something. Like, I feel like that's kind of...
Yeah, so it's common. It's common. Sophie, I remember when the Doja Cat thing happened, we actually talked about it on this podcast. And one thing I said was that I know for sure, and I'm not going to say any names, but I've definitely have seen like very talented artists. It's one thing to like, want to pivot and move to different places with your music, but I've actually have seen artists go as far as to like basically do a Doja Cat set and just like trash their earlier music, which, I understand. Like I said, I understand if you want to move, in a different direction, but like kind of what janeremover was saying, like lots of people, maybe as an artist, you don't love that part, like that older stuff as much as you love the newer stuff. But like if it's like connecting with people and like making them feel better and like enjoy life more, then like all things considered, like it's kind of like a good thing that there's no reason to like feel ashamed of or like trash.
Yeah.
But I will say, at the end of the day, though, I will say I really loved, like I said, I'm just going to reiterate, Census Designated for sure is my favorite. I think it's very interesting, like just given that kind of you're doing what you're doing, where you're saying like each album is going to be like a different genre. I feel like that's been working in your advantage just because I feel like it's creating like a wide net of like fans who have different taste and different like, favorite releases you're doing.
Yeah, I've started to notice that, and it's like, finally, it's working.
Yeah.
I've been like kind of scared that I don't think that I've been labeled as a one-trick pony, but it's just a fear of mine, and I try to steer away from it. And like I think every time I release something, it's like I don't realize until a month later, like, okay, this is how people are gonna perceive your art for 2 years, like when Frailty came out, I didn't really notice that until like 2 months in, or like at the turn of the year. I was like, okay, so like these 13 songs are like what people are gonna know as like janeremover for the next 2 years. And I think that's what inspired me to make a little shift, because I know that getting boxed in, algorithmically at least, and like with a lot of like internet buzzwords is like, that's not really something I'm trying to do. And it's not that I don't want to like disown like internet scenes or whatever, or like say that like I didn't rely on them at a certain point, but it's like, I don't know, when it comes to coverage, and like when it comes to putting yourself out there, there's only like such a big audience you can reach, and I don't know, I want to try to reach as many people as I can, but obviously I don't want to alienate anyone or patronize anyone.
Yeah, that's such a good point about like, it's like you don't have control over how the internet like views you, sees you, boxes you in, and like even though it's kind of a bad way to like consume art, it's just the tendency of like people making that connection of like, oh, janeremover, Frailty, that's janeremover, and just like putting you into that. So like, did you feel like once you released Frailty, was there like a drive in you, like, okay, now I want to just like get rolling on the next release because I want to be able to like control more of like the narrative of like who I am as an artist, or what, like, I guess, like, what was like kind of the like, what, when did you kind of like get that drive to pivot into like writing Census Designated?
I think I was I think I thought about Census Designated like as I was finishing up Frailty, because I try to plan ahead with my music, and I just have a lot of ideas just brewing in my brain. Um, I think releasing music always motivates me to make more, but
Yeah.
um, I think I kind of just like I started making Census Designated like a few months. I started writing for it at least when a little after Frailty came out, like maybe 4 months. But um, there were definitely like a few demos that I recorded between like releasing Frailty and writing for Census that were like this little in between, kind of like the beta versions of Census Designated, and I've yet to do that with like LP2 and LP3. Um, but
See, that, I love that. This is how I know you grew up on the internet, not only because
Yeah.
of like a lot of the music we released, but because you called, instead of calling them demos, you called them a beta version. That is how I know you. That's how I know you grew up playing video games.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
guess that, but I mean, that definitely leads to like my next question, which is, have you already started like maybe brainstorming or brewing ideas of like, what do I want to go do next with my music?
absolutely, but I haven't decided like whether or not it's going to be like an album or an EP. I just have like an idea, like a concept, and then I have like a few song ideas that I have like written down in my little notebook. But um, aside from that, like I think it's probably going to take me a little bit more time to like
Hmm.
decompress and start getting back into like writing again.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like, I can tell based off the music and just like this conversation we're having that you're someone who like has that creative streak and that creative drive, and like I would imagine that would just be who you are, as someone who wants to like, who's already brainstorming their next release. But I totally get it. Like, especially with like a tour coming up and stuff, like
Yeah.
obviously that's like where the energy needs to be focused, and the beta version of the next release can wait.
Yeah, I really didn't play that many video games growing up. I have like two or three games that I'm really good at, and then the rest of them I just don't really touch. Like Mario Kart Wii, I have like 10,000 hours on that game, but I don't really play any other games like that. you know.
That's kind of funny because um when I was your age, I also had like a solid like 3,000 hours in Team Fortress 2. And I remember someone asked me if I was a gamer, and I said no. And then my other friend was like, "Are you kidding me? You have 3,000 hours in Team Fortress 2." And I was like, "It's only one game." And they were like, "That's 3,000 hours of gaming." So that's kind of how I'm reacting to you right now, saying that you have about 10,000 hours in Mario Kart.
Yeah, no, I've had that game since I was like a little kid because it came out in 2008. I was like 5 in 2008. um,
That was another
Oh
thing.
my
That's another
god.
thing I was gonna ask was, when did you start making, like, how old were you when you started making music?
I started like I think at the very least like one of the earliest memories I have like making music is probably when I was like 9 or 10, and I had these two apps on my phone called iMachine and MadPad, and they were both like their
Oh.
own little launchpad type apps. Because I remember seeing launchpad videos on YouTube, like M4 Sonic type shit, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so awesome!" um, but I didn't start like I think making my own music in like actual uh, like DAWs, like GarageBand or something, until I was like maybe 12 or 13. And then I
That's
didn't start
still super
taking,
young.
True, yeah. And I didn't really start taking music seriously until I was like 15 or 16.
What did that like really early music like sound like for you?
It's it's really funny to look back at it, because I still have some like files on my iPod and like old phones and stuff, but it's very obviously like really bad and like undercooked, I'd say. But there's a lot of like ideas in there that I was like, okay, you know what you were doing to some degree.
I don't know, it's funny just hearing you saying like, oh, you're like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Like, this is like, to me, it's like extra, like this is like lots of people don't start learning instruments until they're 15. And like, so now that you've pivoted into like with Census Designated into like more rock stuff, what like artists would you say like in the genre of rock like were most inspirational to you when you were making Census Designated?
That's a good question. I think I didn't really have like many inspirations going through making it, and then like but then I'd like listen back to it, and then I'd be like, oh, this like when I first made Fling, and I listened back at it a week later, I was like, okay, this is just like Deftones sissy hypnosis, you know. But obviously it's more than that. But like, I definitely hear some like Boris influence. Some of like I think I hear like some a lot of like harsh noise stuff. Like there's a Boris and Merzbow collab album that kind of inspired me when making it. I think like I I like a lot of like melodies used in pop music, and I think that's the only like pop element of this album maybe is like vocal runs and like vocal melodies and stuff. But I think like a lot of it is just not so much inspiration based, but it's more just like a picture I'm trying to paint and the similarities that I find.
Gotcha. That's interesting. So would you? I guess it's like outside of like rock musicians, then, or maybe it's just like you said, like it's just kind of painting a picture and there's no specific influences. But were there any like maybe electronic musicians or just like any other artists outside, or was it really just kind of focused internally?
It was internal, yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. What was like the when you're putting this album together? What was the place that like you started with? Did you start with lyrics and melodies and then kind of build around that, or did you kind of like start with like noise and like I guess like what was like the starting point when you were putting the album together?
I usually write the lyrics first, and then I have like lyrics and the melody in mind, like a little like vocal melody, and then I usually track the guitars and the vocals like at the same time, and I build around it.
That's
Um,
interesting. Caio, you do like the opposite, right? Like you write the guitar first.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on the project, and because I always like asking this to artists because I feel like I always get a different answer where like I like for me I really focused on like getting a guitar riff I really love first, and then kind of work from outside there. Some people start with chord progressions, some people start with melodies, some people so I always like to like, and I'm not surprised to hear that like lyrics. I was actually guessing that you would say lyrics just because I feel like the lyrics are very um like passionate and like
Yeah,
theatrical. Um
the best
in a way
lyrics
that felt,
are.
yeah, true. So that's pretty cool. And then like when it came to producing this album, because I know like obviously earlier most of your stuff was focused on like electronic music and kind of like more glitchy stuff, and obviously that definitely comes through in the new record too to an extent. But like was like all the guitar playing like you playing the guitar, or did you have like other kind of musicians like chime in and help out with the process of putting the album together?
When I wrote this album, it was like me writing all the guitar parts, and then I think about like 11 months, maybe a year into making the album, I worked with Douglas Stilgarian of They're Gutting a Body of Water, and he tracked the guitar and like additional guitar and bass like over what I wrote. So also he just like added his like Doug flair to it. But yeah, it was mostly just me like writing all the guitar parts and like vocals and the structure.
Have you ever played a show with They're Gutting a Body of Water?
I haven't. I think I'm like imagining that'd be crazy, but I'd have
I
to
feel like
like
they're yeah.
I'd have
I
to
don't
do
know.
some
I
like
feel
planning.
I feel like they're a very active band, like on the internet and like in the like music scene that kind of is like somewhat within like it just feels like it's music that falls within the same universe as like Census Designated, like kind of emo shoegaze um rock that like people on Discord like sharing with each other.
I can see that. Yeah, I do hope to reach like a less online audience like as well, because like I obviously don't want to be like if you're online you're not allowed to listen to me. If you use Discord, like stop streaming my music. Like obviously I'm not trying to be like that, but I do kind of want to tap into like an older crowd that like doesn't really know what any of that is.
Well, I think you got what it takes. Like, I mean, I think even with just like Census Designated, like kind of what I said in my review, like it has plenty of like the modern influences, like some of like the noise and production style. But this is like shoegaze and like rock and emo, and like those genres definitely have a big appeal to like people who are grew up in the '90s and like that music and everything. So, um, I'm sure like also going on tour and stuff will help. So that's yeah. I definitely feel like it's kind of a mystery to me how like we've got this whole world of like really dope indie music that people who like are quite online know about and are familiar with, and then there's like then there's like the majority of the planet who exists off the internet, and how to reach them, God knows how, but I think you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, like I
Yeah, if there's
think
anyone.
even artists today that like sell a ton of vinyl, they still have like somewhat of an online presence, and I feel like for better or for worse, I think it's like almost necessary, I think, for an artist to like have the minimum of like a social media account, even if it's like just run by management and stuff. Just because of like modern music listeners today, like young or old, like a lot of them are on social media. But I guess a way to like tap into like the crowd that doesn't use social media is to just like play live shows and like sell vinyl, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Sophie, Sophie, by the way, when you first listened to Census Designated, Sophie, how would I'm curious, how would you describe the music?
Oh God, I'm terrible at describing music. Like I feel like I'll sound like an idiot because like you're like.
Sorry,
really
I didn't mean to put you on the
good at
spot,
this.
Sophie. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
curious. Well,
No,
I'm
well,
asking you
I
because
really enjoyed it.
okay.
Oh, because I'm like outside of the scene. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because like when I listen to it, like I understand like the influences and the context.
I understand the influences. I think like to an extent. It's like I am a fan of like rock and shoegaze and like electronic music, so I like get the the vibes. I think I sound like an idiot right now. I'm really sorry.
No,
But,
that's right. You got it.
I'm on.
Sorry,
women
is
do,
this
like,
mansplaining of me to be like, let's let the woman co-host to talk about the music?
Let's
Sorry.
let the meme page
The meme
admin
page.
talk.
Yeah.
Meme page admins shouldn't have any opinion on it. Just kidding. I really, really latched on to the lyrics a lot and like I guess like that's like kind of what I latch on with music in general. I really, really, really liked the lyrics a lot, and I really liked the visual, like the visuals accompanying it too, like the like Americana kind of. I don't know if that's right. Like, how do I describe this? Like
Like
just
the album
like
artwork?
being in the middle of, yes, and like the vibe, like being out in the middle of nowhere. I really like that aspect of it, I guess. Like someone who grew up in like a small town in Minnesota, like that like really appeals to me. Like I think that's like, I really love the album art like a lot. Like I know I sound stupid, it's like I'm talking about the art and like the lyrics more than the actual music, but I feel like stupid whenever I talk about music, so sorry.
I
I
don't
feel,
think
like,
that's
awkward.
stupid at all. I think a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a valid.
Sorry,
That's
I'm very intimidated right now.
no, no, no. There's nothing to be intimidated about. You intimidate me, Sophie.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Thank you, I guess. But I was actually gonna ask you about the visuals and like how that came to be, but if you don't mind talking about that, but
Totally. I wanted to take things not like up a notch, but I wanted to give it more like, because like I think Census Designated, it's a less online like vibe. It's more, it's
yeah,
like rather
going
than
outside vibe.
rather than like the imagery for Frailty, it was very just like, crunchy JPEG videos of like Google Street View and like home video
Yeah.
recordings. And like, I think Census Designated is kind of just like a big open field in like a rural town. I thought of like, I think where we shot was like kind of exactly what I'd pictured in my mind, because we were in Oregon, and we
Oh.
we shot like all the pictures, like all the cover art and like shots for the album. They were all like in the high plains of Oregon, which is
Oh.
like there's nothing out there. And I absolutely loved it.
I love that. Like, I love being in places like that a lot. So I
Yeah,
was really like drawn to that.
it was a bit scary
Wow.
like at night, or just
Oh,
like
I bet.
I think like abandoned houses to a degree are like kind of scary to me, just from like just because
Yes.
like the context behind it. But I had like that was part of the vision for the album, so I had to like I had to face my fears a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I actually
That.
really love that because I never really thought too much about it. Like it's not like a cohesive thought I had. It was something more like I felt. Where when I looked at the
Yeah.
census designated album artwork, it just like felt
Yes.
to me like such a pivot, like visually away
Yeah.
from both how frailty looks and sounds, and like I love how you kind of like described it as being like literally out in the middle of nowhere, which is the furthest thing I can think of from like frailty, which sounds to me more like being in your room at like 2 a.m., like with
Yeah,
anxiety, thinking,
frailty's
you know
like
what I mean?
it's like a childhood bedroom, like headphones
Yeah.
listen, um,
Wow.
and like
See, this is why I asked Sophie, because Sophie's gonna say like, so I didn't think of that, and Sophie, that's why I asked you, Sophie, because you're gonna say something I didn't think of.
Thank you.
So
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I find it
Yeah.
hard like describing music that's not my own too, because I think a lot of the music that I listen to, I'm like, this is good, or
That's
like
how I'm with music too. Like I feel like, I don't know. I guess like the internet has made me like really terrified of talking about music. Sometimes like I know I sound like I don't like music. I do really like music. And but music is so personal, and I mean that in the kind of like a, that's why it scares me, is like online, like talking about music is like stepping in a minefield, because anything you might say could like really upset someone without you even intending to do that. I guess because I have a lot of, I don't know, I mean Arca is in my username, so I do like music.
Yeah.
But like talking about music and making memes about music is such a like minefield of like potentially offending someone or receiving hate from other people where like your taste in music sucks. Like music is so personal to people, so like if you criticize anything or make like a tongue-in-cheek joke about anything, or conversely if you make something praising something, like you're just gonna invite like a lot of conflict because it's tied to people's identities. Does that make sense? So like I'm like very hesitant sometimes. I'm scared to talk about music and like or even like educate myself about like maybe the best way to talk about music, I guess. Like Caio, for example, you're very good at talking about music because you like kind of spend a lot of time on Rate Your Music, and you are like a music critic. You're a musician.
That is the
too,
worst.
like.
That is the worst way to say I'm gonna talk. I hate Rate Your Music, but yes, I do spend a lot of time.
I know you hate I know you hate Rate Your Music, but like you.
But I am
think,
addicted
like,
to it.
Well, you told me like when you were younger, like because I used to talk to you like, how did you get so into music, or like why do you know so much about music? And you said like I spent a lot of time on Rate Your Music. You said like that introduced you a lot of subgenres that like influenced you to like go listen to a bunch of different kinds of music. Like it was a like launching pad. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a good thing. I feel like it's better to. I think you're just a better. You're a better person if you don't spend a lot of time on Rate Your Music. So
yeah, I'm sure that's true.
I think like
wait, how? Yeah.
From my experience, I think Rate Your Music is a really good place to find music and not a good place to talk about it.
That's true.
There's like a few albums I found on Rate Your Music that I like. Like there's this like psytrance album that I really like that I found on Rate Your Music. There's a lot of stuff that's rated really low on Rate Your Music that I love, which is like, you know.
Same here. And that's the thing that's so frustrating about Rate Your Music is that like a lot of people on that website, if you get into the system enough, like you treat it like a video game or like you're checking off boxes of, oh, I've listened to all these high rated albums.
That's how I am with like movies on Letterboxd though.
So shout out to people who listen to things with low ratings, because a lot of that's like really amazing and it makes me mad when I see them with low scores.
Yeah, you should do that too.
I think like not too long ago, like maybe a few months or so, I found like I saw what like LMFAO, Sorry for Party Rocking, had on Rate Your Music. And I was like, these people, they don't get it, you know? It had like an obscenely low rating. And then like I think when I looked at like the all-time charts or whatever, and I had only listened to like maybe 4 albums in the top like 50 or something. And it's like, you know, I don't have to, but you know, for some reason, it's like these are the albums you have to listen to.
Good for you for not falling into the Rate Your Music system, but still being able to release music that's very good and that people on Rate Your Music like anyways. So good for you. That's all I was gonna say.
I'm not like a Rate Your Music user, but I do look for some cool stuff to listen to every now and then.
That is the healthy way to use it. And I guess I'm curious though, like, given that you got really into music so young and were producing it, where then did you, like, what sources did you use to find new music?
I grew up listening to the radio mostly, and I think like when I saw a few music videos on TV, like I remember seeing the Wild for the Night music video, like from Skrillex and A$AP Rocky on TV.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And like a fond memory I think is like when I was really little and like watching Disney Channel and they would play like Selena Gomez music videos and shit.
Yes.
I still listen to Round and Round like all the time.
Love You Like a Love Song.
Yes.
One too. And I love that music video. It's like I'll never forget it.
Literally, it's like
that makes sense.
Shaped me into who I am today. Watching the Disney girls. on TV.
No, it's the Disney. No, it's finally something I understand. Just kidding. um, yeah, no, they lives were changed. Lives were changed.
Literally, mine included. Like,
Yeah, same. I'm like Loki. I never used to. I don't know. I was more of a Disney Channel fan than I was like of Disney like movies or like you know what I mean. Like
yeah,
as like a little girl, I was like really into like the princesses, but that like I think every like a lot of people when they're young are. But then like as like a tween, definitely Disney Channel. I was more of like a Cartoon Network Nick kid, if I'm gonna be honest there. But I still really enjoyed like Disney Channel, and then like as an adult, like when I was like, or maybe like when I was like a older teenager, I was like, I don't, Disney adults are cringe. I hate Disney adults, and now I'm kind of a Disney adult because, not really, but like because Caio and I watch like a lot of Disney movies on Discord now, because like we're not always like in the
Sophie,
same
that's a
area.
secret. That's a
Okay,
secret.
okay,
No, I'm just
okay,
kidding.
sorry.
I don't care.
Yeah, we
Yes.
watch a lot of shit on Discord.
Yeah, we're
And-
we're big on Luca. We love Encanto. All right, so that makes good sense. I definitely janeremover. I can definitely see, like, I can visualize that very well, with like you listening to the radio and like watching these music videos. But how did you get into the more like digicore kind of eclectic, obscure kind of genres? Like, how did that kind of fall into place?
I think that came through like making friends online and like just like Twitter mutuals and like having it kind of not like in your face, but it's like it was around me, it was what like my friends and we were like, this is what all of our like online friends made and listened to, and we were like, oh, this is cool. The reason why I don't really think it's like not really not that it's not worth mentioning, but it's like it's not as important because I think it's like the word digicore is like the same way it's used the same way like as the word hyperpop is, where it's like these were like the names of playlists and they were like turned into I guess genres. I don't think either are really like genres, but that's like another discussion in itself. But
Oh, I am so relieved to hear you say that, because as a music critic, I feel like it's my job to understand every genre, and I really don't understand exactly what the hell these genres are anyways. So
yeah,
if you're someone, so I'm glad to hear you say that, because I've always felt that way, but I don't want to like say that and embarrass myself too much.
no, yeah, I don't think they're genres. I just think they're the names of playlists that got a lot of like journalism buzz in the year 2021, and then
Yeah.
yeah, now we are here in
Now we're
2023.
here. That's pretty dope. I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, as someone who's very much like on the in the Twitter sphere, like I kind of feel like sometimes like I watch like these like 14, 15, 16-year-olds on Twitter like just goofing off and then like simultaneously making like really fun weird music together. And it's very strange to see it like it did for it has to an extent like somehow transformed into something even bigger than that. But I think that's really the best way to listen to those genres, is to understand it in that way, as like just kind of kids having fun on the internet. So I think it's like super cool to like to hear your journey, how your discography has evolved over time, and it's definitely got me excited to see where it goes, because I feel like from a conversation we've had and just your discography, I think you have a very interesting creative approach with a lot of like you've already accomplished a lot, and I think you're gonna keep releasing some good stuff is all I'm trying to say. All right, Soph, do you have because we're about at time now, so we can probably wrap this up. But Sophie, is there any last questions that you have that you want to ask janeremover?
Yeah, I do. It's not really about music, it's more about memes, like just cuz I like memes and like that's kind of my thing. And I know you follow me on Instagram, and I'm wondering like what do you like about memes? Like what are your favorite memes, and like do memes influence you at all like in your art?
I don't think memes influence my art. But
That's a good thing.
yeah, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with memes. I like when they're really like abstract and there's no really like I hate when like memes like put people down and stuff. Like I hate when like memes are like targeting one specific person and like or like a group of people. Like I think those suck. I do love a lot of like music memes, hence like why I follow your page because you post a lot about music. And also like Arca is like my top artist right now.
Oh yes, love Arca.
Like
Yeah.
I think she was my top artist last year. I think she might be like my top artist this year too.
Arca has like a really like robust like meme community around her.
Oh yeah,
Like
she like posts memes sometimes too.
she does. And like her Discord, like I don't know how it is right now, but I used to be really active in like her Discord, and like there's this like one server in there called like Feral Entropy, and it was just like a bunch of her stands, and like Arca stands are really like crazy. They're funny. They're really funny, but they're like crazy in a good way. Anyway, like they were churning out memes like at like insane rates. Like, and I know she engages with them too. Like she creates a lot of like memeable moments that really honestly don't like play into her music at all. She just like like happens to be like really like the things she says like outside of her music are like very funny, and like her fans are just like, despite like the music itself, are just like very crazy. I don't know. Like I find art like some of Arca's music is very like, especially her earlier music is like very serious, or to me feels very serious, and like I don't know how like I would make a meme about that, you know what I mean? Like I don't see the memes from that, but maybe her newer music gets a little more like accessible, or more dance, more like, you know what I mean? Like I think like the memes they're a little easier to make about her music now, but I don't even think the memes relate to her music as much as they relate to like her as a person.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I think when it comes to like if a fan base is making memes about the music more than they are about like the artist, I think there's like a little bit of imbalance there. Or when like a fan base makes memes and a lot of it is just like putting down the artist. I think when because
Yeah,
I
like
see a
stan
lot
Twitter is
yeah,
crazy.
or like I see a lot on Twitter like people who are fans of like Ken Carson and like Destroy Lonely and like that whole crowd. I'm not too familiar with them, but like I see like people saying like, oh, Ken Carson looks like this, or like, oh, Destroy Lonely looks funny, or it's like, you know, or like people will like say harassing things about them, and it's like I don't know. I would like be very upset if I had a fan base like that, you know?
Yeah, no, I know. Those memes aren't really funny at all.
Yeah.
Good question, Sophie. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know we always got to talk about. We always gotta pepper our conversations with a little bit of meme convos because it's near and dear to Sophie's heart. So,
Yeah.
all right. So it looks like we're at time now. But before we wrap up, is there any last things, Jane, that you want to mention that you didn't get a chance to mention? Any things you want to plug? Anything like that? Now's the time. If you have anything else you want to say.
If I had something to plug, I think I would say my album, Census Designated, is out now everywhere, and
Yeah.
I am going on tour, and it's a co-headline tour with Quanic, who is one of my best friends.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay! I know. I'm excited for the tour because I'm definitely, like I said, I'm going to come to the Brooklyn show. So, yeah. So, absolutely, I'm going to reiterate for everybody because it's the real deal. Census Designated, one of my very favorite albums of the year. So, super cool and very excited we had a chance to talk to you, Janeremover, because your music is dope
Yes.
and
Thank
you are
you
dope.
so much. Thank you
really
so much,
appreciate
Shane,
the
for coming
conversation.
on.
Yeah, thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
This has been another episode of Base News Network.
Base News Network.
Bye-bye.
Bye.